This week on A Saul on Battery, we recap episode 12 of season 6, Waterworks. And since it's the second to last episode, going to throw in a few predictions at the end.
A Saul and Battery, hosted by Ali.
Another great episode. Let's just get rolling on it right away. We are in the Saul Goodman timeline. He's bouncing a ball up against the wall, killing time, a lot like he did at the cell phone store. He's procrastinating. It becomes clear as Francesca calls in none too happy. And eventually we see why. He's got the divorce papers for Kim. Now we go back to the black and white Jean timeline. But it's not Jean this time. It's Kim. We're going to see what's going on with her. This was crazy to kind of wrap my head around as it started. The very first shot of Kim, now with long brunette hair. At least I guess it's brunette based on the black and white. I guess it could be red. But anyway, dark hair. I thought originally it was the actress that played her mom, maybe, because it was just kind of a quick shot and they cut. But no, it's Kim. You figured that out pretty quick. She's not dressing nearly as sharp as she used to dress, very kind of suburban, just jean skirt kind of type of deal. And there's a goof that walks in with wraparound sunglasses and tigers on his shirt. And he doesn't seem to be the sharpest knife in the drawer. And at this point, we're not sure, is this Kim's new husband? It's what I kind of thought it was, but we're going to find out shortly. No, he leaves. He's just a boyfriend. But a very uneventful period of time, a great deal of debate about he had a particular Duke's mayonnaise was his mayonnaise of choice. They were out. He had to go with Miracle Whip. They were uncertain if Miracle Whip is really mayonnaise. I'm not going to enter that debate. I recognize they're different, but I think largely symbolism-wise, many folks view Miracle Whip as fake mayonnaise or knockoff mayonnaise. And so some of this might be a parallel to Kim's life, in that this is kind of a knockoff or a less quality environment than when she was Kim Wexler, attorney at law. We get to see a little more of their private life than I would have cared to see, which includes a little bit of lovemaking here in the afternoon. And Doofus is his approach is to just go, yep, yep, yep. Kind of like the way Kevin's dad did in the videos. Whole different scene in terms of what's going on, but maybe it was a bit of a callback to that. And then we see Kim going to work, which looks desperately dull. The black and white really kind of even further reinforces that Kim is basically doing Jean's life, but instead of a Cinnabon, she's at a sprinkler shop, and she's not living in constant fear of being caught like Jean is, but just about as dismal. There's lots of inane, kind of boring, dull stuff going on. Her making coffee, signing a birthday card. Doesn't seem to be able to make a decision on anything anymore. Always defers on it. Was questioned about what kind of ice cream for the birthday party, and she just wasn't kind of making any decisions at all. And then she gets a call from Victor St. Clair, which is Jean, Saul, Jimmy's yet another personality. Good code for Kim. She knows who it is. She goes into her office, closes the blinds, and we see the other side of the phone call from the previous episode. Kim clearly does not want to be on this call, is really not saying anything. I would say for this episode, Kim Wexler acted without words about as much as she acted with words, and through a number of scenes. This is definitely one of them where there are very few words coming out of her mouth, but a ton of emotion. You can kind of tell what's kind of going on. You can tell she didn't want him to call her. She told him he shouldn't call her. He's kind of being a jerk as it goes on, but part of it, he's kind of keep poking at her to get her to say something. So she finally starts to say something. It ends up, what she does say is, okay, you want me to say something? You should turn yourself in. Does not go over well with Jean. Does not go over well with Jean. And so we saw Jean's reaction post-call on that. She basically then ekes out kind of a painful, but I think heartfelt, I'm glad you're not dead, and hangs up very quickly. Next, we see the ABQ airport, which we have seen many times in Breaking Bad and a few times in Better Call Saul. Kim has arrived. She's back in Albuquerque. She makes her way to the courthouse. Another sad moment and callback. Mike's booth is empty. He's been replaced by a machine. Not that Mike could currently work there anymore, but just kind of time moving on. And so Mike's booth is now unmanned, and there's a machine. She goes into the courthouse, still in her kind of dowdy Florida gear. And as she's heading up to the elevator, she looks over, and there is a brunette version of Kim Wexler, sharply dressed, tidying up a client to get him to look good for the judge, giving him a tie to wear, hair back in a ponytail. And you can kind of tell she's flashing back to, hey, that used to be me. That was a little better life till I made some choices. We then cut to Cheryl, Howard's wife, and it's Kim. She's letting Kim into their house, and Kim basically just hands her a full confession of everything. And so you just get scans of the words that are on the confession a little bit, kind of just scans the text and different things about Sandpiper settlement, assassinating Howard's character, and Lalo Salamanca shooting him. Another actor who does a fantastic job with very few words is the actor that plays Cheryl, as she doesn't have a ton of dialogue originally, but you can just see as paragraph by paragraph, it's body blows to her as she reads through it. She explains that she could sue Kim. Kim knows that. Kim explains that she's left it with the DA, but Cheryl's wondering, are you going to get arrested? Or are you going to get prosecuted? And Kim doesn't think so, but she doesn't know. And the fact that all the witnesses are gone seems pretty difficult at this point to do much. There's really no evidence of what's happened here, but she's doing her best to clear Howard's name, at least with his wife, and hopefully broader than that. But she came clean. Jimmy kind of goaded her about that on the call, and she followed through. She then gets back on the bus to go back to the airport and breaks down. And again, another scene where 90% of the scene, there's no dialogue. Well, there's really no dialogue from Kim at all in this, but you watch all the waves of emotion and thoughts cross her face repeatedly before she just totally loses it. A bit of, I don't know if it's a release at this point for her, a final acknowledgement of what she's done, but it's obviously weighing heavy on her. So we're back to Gene and his journey down Bad Choice Road. We cut right back to where was the previous episode of him popping out the glass in the door and breaking in. He makes his way into the house. He finds the guy sprawled out on the floor, snoring. Does the piano test, a little key bang to see if that stirs at all. Not at all. Doesn't budge at all. So he begins to do what Buddy used to do. So I just kind of wonder how many of us out there do actually keep this list of all the passwords that could be found by someone drugging us and breaking in. Something to think about. So he gets all the stuff he needs to get done. He goes to the door. He's in the clear. He could go, but Gene's on Bad Choice Road and he isn't stopping now. So he turns around and goes upstairs and is kind of checking out the guy's stuff up there. There's an urn with his dog's ashes in there. The guy apparently has a lot of hats and some very nice watches. Gene pours himself a drink, just taking his sweet time. Don't really know what his motivation is here to kind of stretch it out. He got the job done. They had an approach that would keep it clean and people wouldn't even know they had been compromised, but he's just going crazy here and gets his drink, walks around, decides to steal the watches, and then took a peek over. There's kind of a balcony for him to look back down where the guy was, and he's gone. And kind of Michael Myers gone, or Jason gone, that he was laying there and now he no longer is. And eventually Gene sees that he's making his way to the stairs, up to the upstairs area where Gene is at. He kind of plops down on the stairs and is looking at his phone. And there's been a progression here of, that really bad choice he made to not just leave. And now him weigh it for a second and then pick up that big urn that he had indicated was kind of heavy earlier. And he's heading down the stairs, very likely to, if not knock out, kill this guy. And so you're really starting to have a hard time, at least I am, starting to have a hard time staying Team Gene, because this is just not cool. Fortunately, the guy passes out, and so Gene's able to leave. Meanwhile, out front, Jeff, not built for this stuff. Some cops had pulled behind him, and Jeff's talking to himself and be cool, be cool. Meanwhile, the cops are debating over fish taco and whether or not there's enough fish in it. Fascinating debate going on there. Almost rivals the Miracle Whip debate from earlier. And Jeff decides to make a break for it I guess. Now, maybe Gene called him and said, make a diversion, but I have a sneaking suspicion this is just Jeff freaking out. He goes out, burns out, first bad idea. That's going to probably draw attention from the cops who are directly behind you. Takes a corner and buries it in the back of a truck. Definitely. And so now we get as usual, the cut scene that's a bit misleading, or the teaser scene that's a bit misleading. The cops come out to kind of find out what's going on with Jeff as he crawls out of the car. So we're back in the pre-ish Breaking Bad timeline, Saul Goodman's office. They're getting he's finally let Kim in, just bouncing his ball against the wall. And they're signing the papers and getting the things done. And he, much like later, this is Saul doing things that Saul is my favorite character in Breaking Bad. And again, he's just being a jerk in this. This is basically the Saul Goodman we know, totally disconnected emotionally from anyone. And that's Jimmy in full mode, which he knows is not true. Kim's right across the desk from him, love of his life, but he's now put up this front, locked into it, and this is his defense mechanism. And so he's like, good luck with your life, on his phone the whole time as she's signing the papers. And you could tell she wants to say something, kind of realizes it doesn't matter, and heads out of the office and grabs a smoke. And there's a gentleman who asks to bum a cigarette from her, and it's our good friend Jesse Pinkman. So Aaron Paul back again, super awesome, in full Jesse mode. Get all the little slices of the exciting life that is Jesse Pinkman. That his friend Combo, he's kind of had some experience with legal folks. He has his friend Combo, apparently stole a nativity scene, baby Jesus, and got him off for that. And there some things kind of went on with that case. Now Emilio, who had shown up just before Kim left, is going in there. And Emilio, who was Jesse's partner originally in the meth business before Mr. White came along, he's going in because Jesse explains on the whole, you need a criminal lawyer portion that Saul had gotten his buddy Emilio off like a magician. And so this is Emilio coming in for that pre-conference visit. They have that conversation. Meanwhile, Jesse and Kim are out there, have a little chat. Jesse muses about rain in the desert and other things like Jesse's want to do. And then he kind of keeps prodding at her a little bit. So is this guy any good? Emilio's going because he liked his commercials. I think that's stupid. Is this guy any good? And Kim finishes it with, when I knew him, he was, which is kind of brutal, but true, I think. Back to the Gene timeline. Gene catches a bus, heads back home, does what Gene does, grabs a drink, is sitting there. We get to see the whole Jimmy McGill make the phone ring hands towards his cell phone, waiting to get the call from Jeff. It eventually does come. And Jeff's like, hi, Dad. And so this very scripted or comical hi, Dad conversation, yes, son conversation between Gene and Jeff, explaining that he's got arrested. And he's got arrested because the guy came out of the house shortly after he wrecked saying, I've been robbed, because Gene was dumb enough to actually rob this guy. And so Jeff's kind of getting nailed for that. And so Gene says, don't worry about it. Best legal representation ever, going to get you taken care of, and calls Marion. And Marion's late in the evening. She reminds Gene of that as she picks up the phone, explains that Jeff's got himself in trouble. He didn't do what they accused him of doing, but he needs to get bailed out. We need to go down the first thing in the morning and bail him out. And he mentions, Jen, it's good news here because in Omaha, there aren't bail bondsmen like there were in Albuquerque. So Marion, who was already, I think, a little bit suspicious of Gene, between the whole secreting Jeff off for a conversation, the clandestine meeting back in the garage with Buddy that she caught a little bit of a peek of, and now all of a sudden dropping an Albuquerque background when he'd earlier said he'd never been, she turns around and fires up her laptop, and not only has mastered cat videos, but has mastered the fine search engine that is Ask Jeeves, and does a search on Conman Albuquerque, and guess who came up? So that had happened. Gene comes in, trying to get her to leave, and she fills him in about the whole Ask Jeeves stuff, spins it around. There's a Saul commercial running on her laptop, so she's made him. Gene now knows he's made. It's kind of cool. They've done this a couple times in a little different flavorings. The Saul commercials in color, reflecting off of Gene's glasses. You can kind of see that. Tonight's touch. very similar to what they did in the first episode of the Saul commercial, kind of brightening the black and white world. And she's got him. This is the 80s. And so she has to pull the phone cord out of her laptop, puts the phone cord back in her phone. She's going to call the police. Gene rips out the phone cord from the wall and begins to coil up the phone cord in around his hands. And Marion's backing away from him. And this is yet another portion where, like I said, it's getting a lot harder to root for Gene. You had to wonder where this was going to go. It's like, though some folks are saying, oh, he wound it around his hands because he was going to tie her up. The way he did it around his hands is not kind of tie you up kind of way. It's choke you out kind of way. And I don't know if he was seriously thinking about that or not, but he approaches her. She's kind of getting ready to do it. Then she reaches in and grabs her first alert, and she pulls that out, and she's going to do that. Gene pulls it away from her, still around her neck, and is saying, don't. And he's getting very serious. He's counting down. Don't do it. Last chance. It's all very dark here. What's going to happen? And then Marion says, I trusted you. And you just see Bob Odenkirk also awesome at acting without speaking. You immediately see how that drove a knife in him, pauses him. He gets out of his Heisenberg mode and releases the first alert, which Marion presses and lets the police know that lets the first alert people know there's a criminal in her house. His name is Saul Goodman, and Gene books out the door. So that's in it. Oh, I forgot to lead off the conversation with Sling sucks. Again, they run commercials over the previously on at the very beginning of it. I hate that. Sure, they're going to do it for the final episode as well. Very, very very, very irritating. Anywho, so one episode left. Couple predictions here at the end. They showed the teaser. And the teaser is Jimmy's esteem wrecked, rusted, and you hear him repeating a couple times the mantra of the vacuum part that needs to be ordered to work with the disappearer. And he's clearly winded and distress. Something's kind of going on there. What we have learned from most of the teasers are a lot of times the words aren't matching with the right scene, and where you're led to believe is not what's going on. And I'm going to assume that's the case here as well. Certainly, it's not Jimmy crashing the esteem, because that thing's been in that pit forever on that. So it's not Jimmy crawling from a car wreck, even though they kind of sort of would lead you to believe that. So these guys are so good and put together such a great path. It's a fool's errand to try and guess what they're going to do, but I'll throw out a few things and we'll see where things land. It's so hard though. It'll be great. I'm sure it's going to be great, but it's complete guesses here. But a couple of things that I'm guessing are going to happen are the scene with the esteem is going to be part of some sort of montage, one last montage from this crew of all the wreckage that Jimmy has left in his life. You may see an abandoned HHM office, or the signs being torn down, the esteem, the laser tag place, all the nail salons, his old office, Chuck's burned out house. You can maybe see all those things. Ken Wins washing cars to make money now, but just all the damage he has wrought throughout his life. As we get kind of a montage of, much like Chuck said, one of huge Chuck fan, but I think he is right on some things, is that people get hurt when they're next to Jimmy. He doesn't do it intentionally, but they get hurt. So I think that's one guess, is that's maybe how that car fits into that montage. I also think he's going to the voice that we heard during the teaser is Gene shortly after he's left Marion's house. He's probably gotten back home, recognizes he doesn't have much time. They're going to be there. He's getting his shoebox full of goodies, including the diamonds, and he's trying to remember what he needs to order, because he's trying to do everything on the run, and he's picking up his cell phone to try and call into this and get out of there. And I think he's going to call, give the right mantra there, and the person on the airline will go, well, we don't have any of those right now, because somehow the disappearer is gone. He's died. He's moved on. He's no longer in the business. I know it wasn't that long ago that Jimmy contacted him, but he's either gone or he's going to refuse to help Jimmy. So that avenue is going to get shot. So Jimmy's busted. He's in trouble. Basically, he's in trouble from the timeline of what they did to Howard, because Kim has confessed to everything. And certainly he's in a lot of trouble now between the Saul Goodman and now Gene chicanery as well. So he's in trouble there. So he's going to be at a loss. And that's where I got no clue. I mean, I think in some ways him trying to go back and reunite with Kim in Florida could be the path he takes. Although, again, now that Gene is kind of out there as busted on that, he's going to have a hard time, I think, going anywhere. My one hunch might be he does make his way back to Albuquerque and things wrap up for Gene in Albuquerque. There's a lot of folks that are thinking that the title of the next episode is Saul Gone. And so that could be the passing of Saul. That could be, so it's definitely Saul's going. Either the character and everything that is Saul Goodman somehow finally gets completely chased out of Jimmy, or Jimmy, Saul, Gene dies. I just, given the last, see, particularly the scenes with Marion and his refusal to not go after the guy with cancer and kind of do the identity theft on him, becoming a less and less, there's not a Jimmy left. It doesn't appear to be on there. I just don't see how it's just going to be clean and Saul Goodman's gone. And now we're back to the feeling Jimmy McGill. But I think Gene gets caught and maybe he does follow Kim's advice, turns himself in, and does his days out being a jailhouse lawyer. So we shall see. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks, everybody.